Hey TYT, this is Nomi Konst. We are talking about the issue of the day. You may have heard that there are Nissan workers in Mississippi right now trying to fight back against crackdown on their unionizing. We are lucky to speak with one of the reporters who I think scooped this, who got on this story very early on, Mike Elk, who is the senior labor reporter of Payday Report, also the founder, I believe, of Payday Report. Mike Elk, thanks for joining us.
Co-founder with JP.
Okay.
JP Wright.
So
everybody buy a CD. It's great. You can find it online, railroadmusic.org.
All right. So what's going on right now? I mean, a lot of people are seeing it now on their social media. The news has just picked up on it. What's been going on with the Nissan workers?
Well, it's been a rough situation here. It's a real siege mentality. The workers Nissan opted earlier last month to have a union election at Canton, Mississippi. If they won, it would be a historic election. They've gotten a lot of national political support. There was a march back in March where 5,000 people, including Bernie Sanders and Our Revolution, Executive Director Nina Turner, showed up and marched. And it was a big, huge event and gave them a lot of momentum, and they picked up 386 cards in a month. So they filed for a union election, and since then, Nissan has really broken the law in their attempts to put poison gas on the drive. What they've done is they've been forcing people to attend these one-on-one anti-union meetings. Mm-hmm. And these meetings are very sophisticated because they start with threats, like, hey, don't you remember that time we gave you a few extra days off, or you've been late a little too much? And then, hey, things are going to be different. By the way, how would you like a car deal? Buy a new Nissan on a lease deal with good rates, or how about a raise? And the NLRB has found that Nissan has engaged in bribery and in threats.
NLRB, National Labor Relations Board.
Relations Board. Yeah. And so what's happened to apply additional pressure to drive this message home is there's been a massive campaign in the community against the union. When you drive around Canton, Mississippi, you see yard signs up everywhere that say, vote no, our future, our community. Mm-hmm. And this is massive. The governor of Mississippi has been all over TV saying that if you vote for a union, you might as well vote to take your job away, and has told Bernie Sanders and his supporters to go back to New York. His words. Anti-Semitism, always fun to throw around in union campaigns.
Exactly.
So it's a tense situation, and the union's losing a lot of support, and I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. If they do, it will be a miracle under this level of intimidation. This is an international human rights crisis, and there's an international angle. Nissan is about 43% owned by Renault. Renault is 20% owned by the French government. If Macron wanted to do something, and members of parliament have been calling on him to do this,
the president of France,
just a couple months ago.
The newly elected president of France, who self-identifies as a neoliberal.
Yeah. He made these comments last month about the colonial Africans not, being smart enough. And it seems like he doesn't care about black folks down in Mississippi because he won't pick up a phone for a meeting. And this is a company that his government owns.
And that's actually very interesting because there is a racial aspect to this. When you dig into the reporting and you see who's organizing right now, it is it's a group of people of color. I'm here at the Democratic Socialists of America conference, and we just got a quick report from someone who was out on the front lines, and they showed, there's a couple thousand people in the room, and they were all showing solidarity for the workers. But one of the people who reported said, a lot of these workers have to be in great physical shape, and excuse me, because I'm in the hallway and there's it's a quiet spot at a conference. That's the joy of reporting. But these people of color are being marginalized. And can you talk about what you're seeing on the ground there? Because we heard a story about how Nissan was playing very loud music, psychological warfare on the workers to prevent them from organizing. And it's just, these tactics are outrageous.
Well, they show these videos, these anti-union videos on a loop all day near people's workstations. And it just goes on all day. And what winds up happening, it becomes like an abusive family. You create a crisis, and you say, hey, these workers over here that are anti-union, they're the good kids. But these guys over here that for the union, they're troublemakers. They're malcontents. They're not good workers. And you go to the kids in the middle and you say, hey, look, we're going to come along, give us one more chance. We won't be that abusive alcoholic anymore. Why don't you give us one more chance? Uh, and that's what's happening, and a lot of people are falling for it. And I think it gets to really how much people know about unions and people know about how they operate. And people think, well, they gave us a raise today, so we don't need to bring in the union here. It's too complicated. It's going to bring. And what companies try to do is they try to create a real sense of tension, so that everyone is just scared.
It's divide and conquer strategy.
Yeah, people just don't want to come in because it's a hostile place to come into work.
Right.
It's somber. It's nobody wants to talk to one another. And so they create this idea that if the union comes in, it will lead to even more division. The workplace was already, except for the malcontents. And then when the union comes in, it'll be even worse.
So what happens now? I mean, this is unions have weakened quite a bit over the past couple of decades. You're seeing a resurgence in interest in organizing. It's almost like the scale has been tipped a little bit too much. The Americans, because of this past election, there's been this boiling point. Obviously, the fight's been going on for much longer, but now people are really paying attention to it. And there's a real labor movement, especially with the younger generation. I mean, I'm here at the Democratic Socialists event, and all everybody's talking about is labor, labor, labor. It's over half the people here are union members. So what does this mean? I mean, whether they choose to, the vote goes through or not, I mean, where does it go from here? Where does the fight go from here? You cover this for a living.
Well, I think it becomes a global fight. Organizing in Mississippi is a national issue. There's no way we as a left can win with organizing the South. Look at Bernie's own experience in the primary where he was swept in the South. I think if they lose here, we have to make this a national fight. We have to keep coming back. We have to keep pressing Nissan, a company that has incredible consumer leverage. They have cars, and we run boycotts of cars, and press them and get them and really bring up this as an example, because we can't let this be an isolated example where you can just break the law blatantly like this, intimidate people, and just say everything's okay. Because even if they lose the election, they'll likely appeal it to the National Labor Relations Board and ask for another one.
Right.
But, that's going to take a long time. And if Trump's new appointees basically shut that whole process down,
right,
who knows?
I mean, but he's also at risk here politically, as much as he is pro-business. You don't hear him publicly railing against the unions because these are the workers who supported him. And if he doesn't have them, he may not get reelected. There's a very strong chance, depending on who the Democratic opponent is, that he will not get reelected, or those people will stay home, not just for Democrats as they did, but also for Republicans. And that's a battle that is going to be very sophisticated and tough to. He's against NAFTA, he's against all these global trade policies, but he doesn't have a solution for labor in America. And if companies like Nissan do decide to leave America and go to other countries, that's reliant on these trade policies. So how does this all loop into the politics of today and the politics of Trump?
Well, I think it shows that in the Trump age, there's still going to be massive resistance. The barriers are just as high, and that we have to be creative. A case like this, they're only going to happen more often. Mm-hmm. Because employers, if you were Nissan right now, Trump's taking over the NLRB.
Right.
It's like get out of jail free card.
Right. Hi, Mike. You don't sound upbeat. Usually you're ready for the fight. I think you've been working hard on this for a while. Thank you for the quick update, and we'll be paying attention closely. You can find Mike's work at paydayreport.com. Correct.
Correct.
And follow you on Twitter. We have everything below the chyron here. Thanks, as always, and keep it up.
You too.
All right.
Talk to you later.